This is my video for the Supreme Court cases that changed America. This is part of my honors project in administration of justice. So the first of two cases that I believe that are relevant and are worth for discussion um, are like the Chimel v. California and Terry v. Ohio. So for Chimel v. California, if you remember, it was all the way back in the 60s. This guy named Ted, he's suspected of burglary. Police go to his house, and originally they kind of like searched near him, see, what's up with him, and stuff like that, because he's a suspect, but like whatever the circumstance was, whatever, they connected him to the crime. Regardless, they went to his house. And since they're at his property now, they decide to search his entire premise, his entire residence, all without a warrant. And what they find is incriminating stuff that connects him to the burglary and this and that. I'm guessing I'm not sure if it was armed or anything like that, but it was probably stuff he stole, I think. I think, yeah, I think if I remember reading correctly, if I read somewhere, like, I think he stole coins, it was there in his property or something like that, whatever. The point I'm trying to make here is the search was unlawful, and they did it without a warrant, so this case sets a precedent. If I'm reading here, so, of course, he was convicted, the state of California, you know, though he appealed, but the state court, they re-cemented his case um, because it applies, because they saw nothing wrong with it. They believe the search was authorized and whatnot. But he appealed again, and the case went to the Supreme Court, and went to the Supreme Court. They found that it was an invasion of privacy, forced it obviously not having a warrant. But I think like the real justification for it, if I'm reading here, the real justification was, I guess maybe it wasn't a loophole probably, but I felt like they felt it was necessary. But I guess the Supreme Court came in and they kind of reaffirmed, no, you can't do this. You're making sure you have to have a warrant, and also even if you have a warrant, you only have the arrest warrant. Just because you actually have an arrest warrant, it doesn't mean you can search the entire thing. It's an arrest warrant. That's what it's called. It's not a search warrant. You only can search the individual, whether you're around him, stuff like that. So. So yeah, it was overturned, like all these cases. I don't know, not all of them. I think just the five I picked, I think there were overturned. Yeah, no, this one was overturned. But yeah, the search was found to be invasive, and it violated the Fourth Amendment, which cites that it prevents against unreasonable searches and seizures and stuff like that. So as for how this case is relevant, I'm guessing, well, some people may not be familiar, some cops may not be familiar with, the laws. Obviously, you have to go through extensive training and stuff like that, but there's a lot of nuance and stuff. But when it comes like this clear distinction between like an arrest and search warrant, if I'm reading here correctly, they could argue that, oh, we got to search the entire place because, and we got to ensure safety. We got to ensure that maybe because, or the things or goes off into the, I guess, idea where, okay, we believe that what you're presenting to us is incriminating, so we can search you and stuff like that. But I guess you are not allowed to conduct a search completely warrantless, obviously. But I guess this can relate to a lot of things like home arrests, stuff like where people could kind of insinuate where, oh, I'm getting this from you or stuff like that, so I'm going to do this, like, domestic violence and stuff like that. Oh, you did this, so I could associate you with that. There's also things like these digital footprints, your cell phones, your devices, everything just kind of leaves these digital breadcrumbs where, stuff that it's obviously you think is invisible, stuff that you think you don't see, but it's actually just invisible. It's there. Um, so it could kind of like associate you with this type of thing. Well, this says this, we can put you there. This says this, so we could do that. This implies that you're doing this, so we could kind of insinuate from here on out, if you get what I'm saying. But of course, this intrusion was unconstitutional, and it kind of cements the idea of how far can the Fourth Amendment be applied to these cases? How far can it not, if we can prevent it from the Fourth Amendment from being circumvented in a lot of these very nuanced cases, as I like to call them. Um, so, and also the fact that it also, it's relevant to the idea that police officers have to be very careful of what they do, not to, screw things up and kind of do things in an organized and kind of lawful manner. Obviously, they gotta know their limits, of course, and they can't just, I guess, wiggle their way through just to get what they want. But of course, things change, things evolve. There's all these little tactics and strategies that law enforcement use, so they got to be careful of what's kind of unlawful and what's not, really, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty much like that.